I'm here at the home of Walter and Joanne Fordham in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the seat of the chronicles of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. I'm here looking at photographs with Walter and Joanne that are going to be available for the 22nd anniversary of the Parinirvana of the Vidyadhara, the Venerable Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. And these are photographs that were taken in the 1960s by a man named Dan Russell, who was a student of Trungpa Rinpoche's at Samye Ling. And he traveled, apparently, to Bhutan with Rinpoche and photographed the journey to Taksang. Many, many years later, when he was visiting Boulder, Colorado, Sylvia Hast was sitting next to him in a sushi restaurant in Boulder, and they struck up a conversation, and she discovered that he had been a student of Rinpoche's, and he began talking about his photographs, and he had a few that he showed her. She was completely, totally taken with these photos and thought that they should be available to the Sangha. So a few months later, she raised some money and put quite a lot in herself and went off to England to see Dan and to make scans of his photos. And these are the photographs that you're seeing today in this slideshow. This is a really critical time, as many of us know, in Trungpa Rinpoche's development, when he had been in England for a number of years, working with Westerners and making a huge transition in his approach to the Buddha Dharma. He went back to Bhutan at the invitation of the Queen Mother, the mother of the current king of Bhutan, and I think he had always wanted to do a retreat at Taksang, and this was his opportunity to do that. Before going into retreat, as Richard Arthure tells us, Rinpoche went to see both Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, and then with Khyentse Rinpoche, he went to visit His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, who he hadn't seen since leaving for England some years before. And there are wonderful photos here of Rinpoche with the Karmapa, and also many portraits of the Karmapa in his quarters, presumably in Sikkim. Rinpoche received 2 abhishekas, or empowerments, before going into retreat at Taksang. The Karmapa gave him the Karmapakshi empowerment, and Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche gave the Vidyadhara a Dorje Trollo empowerment. Both of those figures are in the Sadhana of Mahamudra, and they figure prominently. Here are some remarks that Richard Arthure offered on the occasion of the publication of excerpts from the Sadhana of Mahamudra in the introduction to Volume 5 of the collected works of Chogyam Trungpa. Richard says, "Before going into retreat at Taksang, Trungpa Rinpoche and I traveled with Khyentse Rinpoche by jeep from Bhutan to Sikkim in order to spend some time with His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. At Trungpa Rinpoche's request, the Karmapa performed the Karmapakshi empowerment for us. Immediately, the Vidyadhara, with my assistance, set to work to prepare an English language translation of the Karmapakshi sadhana. On our return to Bhutan, we received the Dorje Trollo empowerment, the wrathful aspect of Guru Rinpoche, which he manifested at Taksang. From Dilgo Khyentse in a very informal setting with just a handful of people present in Khyentse Rinpoche's tiny bedroom. Then we went up to Taksang, traveling on horseback, and then on foot up the steep hill to begin our retreat. In talks on the Sadhana of Mahamudra, Trungpa Rinpoche spoke about his retreat, and he said, I took my retreat at Taksang, which is outside of Paro, the second capital of Bhutan. Taksang is the place where Padmasambhava meditated and manifested as Dorje Trollo. Being at Taksang was very ordinary at first. Nothing happened. It looked just like any other mountain range. It was not particularly impressive at all. At the beginning, I didn't get any sudden feedback, any sudden jerk at all. It was very basic and very ordinary. The first few days were rather disappointing. What is this place, I wondered? It's supposed to be great. What's happening here? Maybe this is the wrong place. Maybe there's another Taksang somewhere else, the real Taksang. But as I spent more time in that area, something like a week or 10 days, things began to come up. The place had a very powerful nature. You had a feeling of empty-heartedness once you began to click into the atmosphere. It wasn't a particularly full or confirming experience. You just felt very empty-hearted, as if there was nothing inside your body, as if you didn't exist. The Kagyu tradition and the Nyingma tradition are brought together very powerfully at Taksang. The influence of the practicing lineage is very strong there. There is a feeling at Taksang of austerity and pride, and some sense of wildness, which goes beyond the practicing lineage alone. When I started to feel that, the sadhana just came through without any problems. I definitely felt the immense presence of Dorje Trollo Karma Pakshi, and I told myself, you must be joking, nothing's happening here. But still, something was coming from behind the whole thing. There was immense energy and power.
May His goodness be present here. Anjam Dorje, all the single-eyed wisdom, may His goodness be present. The Kali Guru, the light of His wisdom, Lord of all beings, may His goodness be present. The ocean of which fulfilling yams to accomplish all actions, may their goodness be present. The protectors who stand firm, the victorious banner of Dharma, may